Another Friday and another Real Talk live with Rima. Today we have a special guest from Sacramento and a good friend of mine. He's an amazing individual and a team leader from Sacramento Area, Shon Delia with Keller Williams. Shon, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I am so excited. I know we've known each other for a couple of years now. And we always have conversation and mastermind. And I'm excited to have you here to share your wisdom, your knowledge, your team concept, and everything you want to share with us this morning on the talk show. So, Shon, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a native to Northern California. I'm 52 years old. I grew up in the Bay Area. Been licensed for over 15 years between Arizona and California. I got a beautiful wife. I have a beautiful daughter and a fun dog that keeps us busy. But yeah, it's just, it's been great being in real estate and looking forward to sharing a little bit more today.
Awesome. And Shon, I know you've been licensed for so many years, but actually you started practicing and taking your real estate practice seriously only a few years ago, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
How many years has been since you moved to Sacramento?
July 2nd, it'll be exactly 3 years that I've been doing real estate full time, but I've been in Sacramento for about 8 years.
8 years. So you started the team 3 years ago, or was it on your own?
I started the team 2 years ago. Yeah, but I went full time into real estate 3 years ago. Before that, I was in corporate America, and I just had my license for my own deals. I helped family and friends, but it wasn't until 3 years ago that I took it seriously and did it full time. So anyone that's watching, if you guys are doing it part time, you guys can definitely do it. It's just it's a matter of being disciplined for sure.
Right. And what made you, speaking of being in the corporate world, having that salary that's you are set to get every single month? And I know this is the biggest fear of a lot of agents, that they have their license, they're just they're not comfortable leaving a full-time job, a base salary that to get the bills paid. Can you tell us a little bit about what made you make that switch, going from that comfortable life? I'm sure you were making good money when you were in corporate world, and just to go all in on real estate, not knowing what's ahead and how much money you're going to make and where the next paycheck is going to come from.
Right. So I followed my passion, and my passion started with my grandmother. And a lot of people are like, really, your grandmother? She was a self-made woman making lots of money back in the late 80s and early 90s, selling real estate. So she got me into real estate early on as an investor. I saw the value of owning my own home, that type of stuff. But, even at the tender age of 49, I still followed my passion. And I just had to be very disciplined with my cutover plan from corporate America to real estate. So I would say about a year and a half before I left the corporate world, I was actually doing both jobs full time. And was it crazy? I hope I didn't put my health at risk, but to me, it was really worth following my passion. And to your point, Rima, the income was there. I had, great benefits. I took care of my family with that. But if you follow your passion and you're very disciplined with your plan, anyone can make the jump. One thing that I've learned early on is that the way that you make it in real estate is you have to do the mundane things over and over and over again. And if you have that discipline, you would be surprised on what you can accomplish.
And that's a great word, discipline, and be committed to any goal, whether it's a business goal, fitness goal. It's just having that commitment and that consistency. That's what's going to get anyone anywhere they choose to go. It just, people fall short because they try something for a few days, a week, a month, and it does not work, and they go back to their old habits and they give up before they even gave themselves a chance. So what would you say, what month or what year was the tick-off point for you with doing the switch, when you saw the business is kind of like taking off on the real estate side, switching from the corporate world to the real estate world?
So July 2nd, 2018 is when I officially left the corporate world. I would say about a year and a half prior to that, that's when I really started to be disciplined with making that switch. But the month that it really hit me was about February or March of 2018. I had 3 deals going on as I was in corporate America still, and I had a $1.5 million transaction, which is helpful. But that was kind of the tipping point for me that I know I can do this, and building the momentum and having the courage to do it really took off at that point.
That's awesome. And how did you start getting business when you first started?
It's interesting. I've always had it in the back of my mind on how important it is to network. So I use LinkedIn as a great platform to just meet business owners, so if I can help support them. And I also do some education and some career coaching, and I do that for my LinkedIn connections. So it's interesting on how many real estate agents are on my team because of LinkedIn. I've sold real estate to some of my connections. I've coached people into real estate. I've coached them into other jobs just because that's part of the career coaching. But yeah, early on, it was LinkedIn that really helped me.
That's awesome. So you started with kind of like social media platforms to build your business.
That is correct. Yes.
Which is huge. Talking about social media and talking about all the tools, the free tools that we have available for us. And a lot of agents still shy away from that because they don't want to put themselves out there on social media. I know me and you kind of like we have a good social media presence. I mean, I had to be pushed to the social media world. I didn't like it at first, but I know it's a free tool, and that's the best way to get myself out there, get my team out there, and let people know who I am organically instead of, paying for stuff that might not generate anything. So that's an amazing thing to have. And you started your team 2 years ago.
That's correct.
That was a fast pace for you, from single agent to having a team on your second year in real estate. What made you do that? What made you start a team? Or what was the goal from the beginning to have a team moving forward into the real estate world?
Yeah, so I was a sales trainer in my corporate world. So I love educating and building teams. And I used to even build up the sales managers as well and train them. So I think I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to develop a team. So 3 years ago, I was on a team for about 4 or 5 months, and it fizzled out, unfortunately. But I think it was a good opportunity for me to just kind of step up and create my own team. So it was me and 2 other agents, and we had to build it from, the bottom up. In fact, we have an agent on the team. He's been with me since the beginning. He says, you know what, we'll always talk about building the business in the garage. And I'm like, yeah, we'll always remember that for sure. But I would say, having the ability to coach others to be successful was really the driving force for me. So as I shared, before, business development is really important for building a team. So I have to entrust the agents that whatever leads I give to them, that they can just kind of, go with it. So yeah, it sounds like it was really quick that I started the team, but I got some good coaching from our broker, who is my personal coach as well. And I felt like I couldn't fail, but, even with COVID, there are some times when it got a little rough, especially, like between April and June. But, we thrived and we were able to come out of it. And even sprinkling in the social media, I think keeping that presence going through that time really helped us a lot. So very thankful for social media.
Awesome. And what would you say your biggest challenge right now having a team? Or if there is a challenge? Yeah,
so the first and foremost, culture to me is really, really important. The numbers are good, but I just don't want to be driven by just volume and commission, that type of stuff. But I would say keeping the culture solid, especially if we bring on a new person, because it takes a while for that new agent to kind of fit in and follow the culture, and trying to keep the same, level of integrity, energy on a team, that type of stuff. So I would say that's probably the most important.
And for like a lot of like, of course, you have the same thing when you're talking to other agents that they're not on your team, or newbies that they are getting to the business, you know, and I get asked a lot, what's the benefit of the team? Like, what do you think I can thrive more, have it being individual agents or joining a team? What's your take on that? And what's the value of a team in general, having someone join a team, have that support, have that, you know, to help and push to help them move forward and, you know, succeed on a faster pace than them doing it on their own?
So, yeah, I would say, and it's very unfortunate that this industry doesn't do a great job on letting new people know exactly what is entailed. You know, you watch HGTV or any other, you know, of these shows, and it looks so glamorous, you know.
100%.
And I remember even Ryan Serhant really breaking down the cost of the commission and all the effort that goes into it. So I think that what I lead with when it comes to the value of the team is that we have an operations that will, you know, basically support your business. And we want our agents to focus on 5 things. One is to lead generate, write, negotiate contracts, keep up with their database, and practice their craft. And practice their craft means, you know, what's your, you know, lead generation lever. I don't want the agents to be doing every single thing: cold calling, door knocking, open houses, network events. I mean, there's just so many out there. But whatever you're passionate about and you're good at, I tell them just perfect it, and we'll take care of the rest.
And you've been like we were offline for a few minutes before the show, and you mentioned that you have a great agents. They stick with you for a long time, and I believe nobody leaves because you have that culture, you have that system in place, you have that support. And like you mentioned, like, people do not really understand the value of having that person that's going to guide them, that mentor, to help them through it. Because when we get our license, we're thrown in a world that we have no idea what we're doing if we're not surrounded by the right people, whether it's a coach, it's a team, it's a team leader, or anyone who's gonna, or a partner for that, you know, because I joined a partner when I started real estate. So everybody, I believe everybody, when they start, they need that help to get them through what they need to go. And it might work out for long term, it might not. But I believe like, you can make it on your own, but if instead of taking you a year, it's probably going to take you 3 years to get where you need to be in a year if you're with someone. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would agree with that for sure. And, you know, the brokerage that we're with gives a lot of support. So on top of that support, we're able to coach the agents on the team and make sure that their goals are very specific. And if we don't have a good roadmap for their goals, then, you know, they're shooting an arrow in the dark, you know. So on top of just the operational support that we do provide leads, coaching, all that type of stuff. So I think that's key on keeping the retention high on our team. I once heard it's a corporate analogy. There is a CFO that went to the CEO and says, you know, what if we put all of this effort into training our staff and they leave? And the CEO's response was, what if we don't and they stay? And that always resonated with me, you know. So even if I put all this effort into coaching someone, teaching them the business, and they walk away, it's not lost. It's just paying it forward and getting people to where they need to be.
100%. You said it amazingly well. What do you see? Let's talk in the market for a little bit. What do you see in the Sacramento market happening right now or in 2021? Like, I know we all had crazy year 2020. 2021 started crazy as well. It's still crazy in in some aspects. But what do you see happening in your local area right now as far as real estate and the real estate market?
And I'm very surprised, but we do have an anomaly. We have people in the Bay Area that are still coming out this direction. So I know a lot of Californians are hearing about people leaving to different states, which is true. But we're also seeing a lot of Bay Area people coming out this direction because, as you guys can imagine, Sacramento's a lower price point than the Bay Area, but the income that people can make in the Bay is off the charts. And if they can work remotely, there's really no reason for them to pay Bay Area prices. So they're coming out this direction. So from a local perspective, that's kind of what the market's, doing. What I'm seeing though, and with the eviction ban potentially being, lifted, we might see a little bit more inventory, but I think it's going to be normalized. Maybe a little bit of a correction, and it all depends on the interest rates as well. But I do see it kind of shifting a little bit, here in the near future, probably in the next 3 to 4 months. But I forgot my crystal ball. I should have brought it today.
Do you see, because in my area, even though we're still in a very highly competitive market, we still do not have much listings on the market. We still have multiple offers above list, contracts. But we're seeing slowly but surely inventory is going up. We're not feeling it too much because they're still selling as soon as they hit the market. Are you seeing the same thing in your area?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing, like 2 or 3 offers on a home versus 20 or 25. So we are definitely seeing that. The MLS system that we're on, the reports are a month behind. So what we do is we actually go into MLS on the live system and look at the major cities and keep track of the inventory. And to your point, Rima, we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing that the inventory levels are starting to, climb up a little bit. So I think with that, it's going to just, like I said, normalize the market and maybe have a small correction.
Yeah, and I listed one 2 weeks ago. We listed it Friday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday came and no offers. And my client calls like, what's going on? Like, I have no offers on my property. And we had tons of showings. And Tuesday hit, we did get 6 or 7 offers on that property. But it's just amazing. While a few months back, you list the property on a Friday, by Saturday morning, you have 7, 8 offers. So we're seeing that change, like I said, slowly. It's not like to scare the sellers or anything. We're still in a great, great market. But like, the consumers and other agents need to watch that and educate their clients of what's going on, because, let's face it, sellers want the most for their money and for their the most they can get for their homes, and we want to bring them the most that they can get from their homes. But if we're not educating them as we go, especially those sellers that's on the fence, that's waiting still 3, 4 months or still waiting for the market to go even higher, we kind of like have to clarify that and educate them and show them the numbers, show them what's going on, show them the MLS numbers of listings that's going up. So it makes them more knowledgeable of what's going on and makes our job a little easier. So we don't have to overprice properties, because we are so used to that, because whatever you list, it's selling. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And that education with the sellers need to happen right in the front of your conversation, because you're going to set the expectation right out of the gate. And it's interesting that, and this too, the biggest question that we get is, how's the market doing? Well, are we talking about the United States? Are we talking about California? Are we talking about Sacramento County? Are we talking about Folsom? Are we talking about a development? Are we talking about an individual street? They all have their own microeconomics. So if you watch, a financial channel and it says, yeah, the real estate market's, 20% over, the following or the past month. Well, that might be true nationally, but what's happening on your street? If you have a foreclosure or a short sale, or maybe you have the 20 offers, way over, the asking price, well, that is going to affect your price. So yeah, we're definitely seeing that up here as well.
And what would you say? What would your advice be for maybe a seasoned agent who's struggling, or a new agent that's just they just got their license and they just want to take on real estate right now? What would you be your first advice for an agent that you bring into the team or anyone who's listening out there?
Yeah, so for the seasoned agents, sometimes if I see that there's like a lull in their business, I would question, is there anything that you're doing differently? Because whatever worked in the past, if you stepped away from it, it might just be that simple. Others is we might have to try something different. The market changes, social media and other, tools that we have will change. So you just need to keep up with it. So I would challenge, have you changed anything? And what does that look like? And if you haven't really changed anything, then maybe you should change something. With a brand new agent coming on the team, it's really about getting to the basics. What worked for me, what worked for other agents on the team, those different levers, as we talked about earlier about, lead generation, what are you passionate about? What are the tools that you have that's going to make you successful? So I think just pointing those out for a new agent is pretty much all we need to do.
Awesome. And how many agents do you have on your team now, Shon?
There's a total of 6 of us that sell, and then we have an operation lead position.
You have an ISA on your team?
Not yet. We're looking into that. But.
And as long as staff, are you having on staff?
So we have one operation lead and myself. So since I'm trying to pull away from production, I can focus on the business development and more of the internal business stuff that I have to take care of.
And do you use any VAs, or all of your staff are in-house?
I'm sorry, what was that question again, Rima?
Do you have a virtual assistants, or everybody's on staff physically as far as staff-wise?
Yeah,
I know in the past, I think you used all in-house. So you're not using a VA anymore?
No, I was considering it for extra support, but I think we're okay right now. If we grow the way that I want to grow, then we'll need to get more support, and a VA could be a possibility.
Awesome. And what is your goal for this year, whether it's a transaction or volume?
It's 90 transactions is
awesome.
Our stretch goal. Our conservative goal is 75.
Awesome. And what do you see the Delia team is, where do you see you going in the next 12 months?
So yeah, and that's a great question. I just met with our operation lead this week, and what we want to do is potentially, expand into other markets that are close by to Sacramento, but still kind of a far touch. So we'll have to recruit, obviously, expand our brand down in those markets. So one thing that we do is we do homeownership programs for companies, and this is the way that I lead generate for the team. So let's say that the local Costco has, 100 employees. We can go in, and there's different ways of sharing the education, but we can go in there and educate them on the power of their credit, how to qualify for a loan, and what is the process of home ownership. And it's a voluntary benefit for these employees. And we don't charge the company, we don't charge the employees, it's just free education. So I would say in the next 12 months, as we start working with other companies, and I can't mention the companies that we've worked with before, but we've had one company with 2,500 employees where we did a Zoom education course. Now, granted, 48 people only showed up, but we got some leads from it. So, awesome. Yeah, so as we start working with companies that are in different markets, we're going to have to expand our footprint there as well.
That's awesome. So let me touch base on that for a little bit. How did you start prospecting or bringing so much value to those companies? Because your intention is to educate and make sure those employees are aware of the power of home ownership and what does it take to get there instead of paying rent and paying somebody else's mortgage. How did you get to where you are now with having that relationships with these companies? How did it start?
Yeah, it goes back to LinkedIn, but this concept's been in play for about 3 years. And I would say about 1.5 years ago, well, maybe close to 2 years ago, I partnered with a lender and we kind of put this program together. we also went to an HR conference that was here in California. They had 400 companies there for a big conference, and we were just the booth there. And there were 65 vendors, and people were scratching their head like, what is a real estate company doing here? And I'm like, I'm glad you asked. So they had like this little card that they had to get punched at each of the vendor booth. So, they had to come talk to us. So we had a raffle. We asked them to put their business card in a bowl, and we raffled off. There was a keynote speaker there, and we got her books, ahead of time. So we provided that through the raffle. But to answer your question, between using LinkedIn on company, either company owners, people that are in the HR department of companies, I just befriended all of these people, and I'm very diligent about staying in touch with them. And it just kind of blossomed into these opportunities. So we had a little bit of a pullback, obviously, with COVID. But now that we're out of the woods with that, for the most part, we're able to kind of get that train going again. That's
awesome. Wow, that's amazing idea, an amazing tool to get business, which is great. And a lot of people are not doing it at all. And that goes back to being consistency.
I would agree. Yeah, and my sales training background, before that, I was a sales rep for the same company, and I was very comfortable in the business to business aspect. So for me to go into businesses and pitch this, education program, it's like second nature for me, awesome. I guess.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And speaking of team and the team concept and all that, and you mentioned that you want to expand. What areas do you guys service right now?
So there's the Tri-Counties, which is mainly Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado County. We do kind of dip into Yolo, Sutter, Yuba. We even got a listing up in Chico, which is about a 2-hour drive, but we have an agent on the team that had an open house about an hour in between and met these clients, and they said, no, you have to sell my house. So, but yeah, so right now it's the greater Sacramento area. We're about 2 hours due east from the Bay Area. And yeah, we can help with anyone's needs here.
And Shon, if anyone has a business or agents wants to reach out to you in your area, what's the best contact email address for you? And we can put it on the post once we're done as well. Perfect. So people can reach you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, cell phone works great. Email is probably my second favorite because I have to be on my computer or looking at my phone. But yeah, so you want me to give you the number now?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's 916-932-3573. And email is shon@Delia, Delia, homes.com.
And your Facebook is Shon Delia, or do you have a business Facebook page?
I do. I should know what that is. You can find it. There's a link on it if you go to Shon Delia. So if you search me by SHON Delia, Delia, there's another link in there with my business page.
Yeah, same thing with Instagram. And it's strange because sometimes I text people and I send them a messenger text and they don't reply to my regular text. They reply to me right away on Messenger. So that's how we know the power of social media.
So true. So true. But I do know my IG one. It is Delia_homes. So that's my IG one.
Perfect. Anything you'd like to add, Shon, this morning? Anything you'd like to throw out there before we end this live?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to share with the group before we hang up, the real estate market, if you look at it over the course of its infancy, compared to like the stock market, it's always outperformed. So people that are looking to purchase a home, think about what's driving the reason for you to buy a home. If it's because you need a place to live, then it's still a good time to purchase. But even with the interest rates going up, it's always good to be in the market, because in the long haul, even if there's a little blip in price values, it's going to be short-lived. So get into the real estate market.
Yes, there's nothing like it. I love it. That's why I've been here for a while and I'm not going anywhere. I'm sure you are too.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Shon, for joining us this morning. I know you are busy and we appreciate you taking the time being on here. And we appreciate you. And hopefully we can do this together in the near future here.
It would be my pleasure. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Shon. You have an amazing day and amazing weekend.
You too, Rima. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.